don't panic.
Here we are with an incredible Instagram live.
Yeah, so you have grown up in the spotlight in South Africa. You've been famous there for a long time. So you were a child star. Can you tell me a little bit about where you came to sort of fame, as it were?
Sure. First of all, my parents were very reluctant, but I must say, I think it's my genetics, because I've got a grand who's very quirky, loves being, the party starter. So definitely her genetics. I've just always been that way. I've always gravitated towards people. And so I do, if anything, I need to thank my genetics and my ancestry. Because like I said earlier on, my parents were very corporate. I mean, they were very supportive, but they knew nothing really about entertainment and media. But I was the girl who'd watch MTV and see Britney Spears speak about, I remember MTV Diaries, and Britney Spears spoke about getting yourself an agent. And I was like, that's it. At 13, I was like, that's what I need to get myself an agent,
You're so driven then.
Yeah, no, I know. But, genetics also plays a huge role, because I see it in my son, actually. He's exactly the same way as me. He's 4, but he's very driven, kind of knows what he wants, people's person, whereas my daughter's very withdrawn and kind of in her own space. And so I have to credit a lot to my genetics, but yeah, I've always kind of been driven and self-driven in many ways, which is very strange, because I come from a very small city. And so the fact that I had these big dreams and still have these big dreams, being in entertainment and kind of, making sure I leave a very, a different but a meaningful legacy has always been key to me, from a very young age. So yeah.
That's so interesting, because I will talk about now, because I was going to come on to that towards the end, about how it sort of strikes me that you've made a sort of conscious decision to use your platform for good, and you shine with confidence, and a lot of the projects that you work on feel very much about sort of promoting Black women in particular in industry, and about loving your bodies. And I just kind of wondered if that came to you at a young age, that decision to be that positive beacon.
Well, it was, and that's a great question, by the way. This is great. I think life always teaches you a lot of lessons, and my one came very young, because I grew up in a kind of suburban setup, which in South Africa, from a demographic perspective, is predominantly white. And a lot of people find that very strange. They're like, but that's Africa. And you're like, well, those are dynamics here in South Africa, obviously because of our history. And with colonialism, a lot of that, and we're still having to change those narratives. As a young girl, looking the way I looked wasn't accepted, in media. I didn't find people I could relate to. The closest thing was like Naomi Campbell, but very few, people that you looked like yourself, especially when it came to all things aesthetics, when you talk about covers of magazines or people endorsing beauty products, you wouldn't find people who looked the way I did. And so because I was somewhat a minority in my setup, it was important for me to do a lot of, just finding myself and digging deep, and understanding that I have to find a way to love myself, because I just didn't look like anyone else and I couldn't relate to anyone else.
It's that thing, isn't it, that you can't be what you don't see reflected?
Absolutely. And it's as simple as that, and you're saying it very well. And fortunately enough, I read a lot of books. In particular, there was a great leader we had in South Africa called Steve Biko, and he was all about Black consciousness and loving yourself and loving your skin, but also more than anything, not only for a Black person, but for all people, because at the end of the day, we're humanity. I find it so strange, for example, where people are celebrating curvaceous women on the cover of, whether it's a Vogue or Elle, whatever the case may be, because that's how it should be. Who else are you relating to? That's how the world is, The fact that we're doing that in 2020, where it's a big deal to find a woman who, and even when they say, you're plus size, even that connotation. What is a plus size?
Yeah.
You're just a female. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just to show us how much we still have to change. And also just from a fashion perspective, essentially you're selling to people. Fashion's for everyone. People all wear clothes. So it would only make sense, right?
It's so, I mean, it seems so, I feel it's an awkward one because I'm really conscious that I'm a white woman with all the inherent privilege that comes with that. But, you know, I definitely think the world has awakened in this year. And I know I haven't had to sort of sit with feeling very, very uncomfortable about that privilege. But once you sort of start thinking about the very basic level of, like you say, it's all humanity. What, you know,
Absolutely.
People all want makeup, they all want clothes, they all want to sort of, you know, celebrate themselves. Why on earth would we be not only sort of funneling that through to such a small number of women? It just makes absolutely no sense. And even in that small woman, they have to be sort of 6 foot and 2 centimeters wide, you know, that also. So do you think that there has been a seismic change this year that means that more women are being championed and we're on the right road now? Or do you think that or do you hope that it's not sort of like a phase, as it were?
That, and I was just about to say the same thing. It's great that kind of this year the narrative has been to be more inclusive, but I hope it's not a fad. We have seen such fads coming in and out, you know, here and there for sales, you know, to ensure that financially people are fine and all these big brands, you know, benefit from such. I really do sincerely hope that this change is one that's genuine. I think social media has also helped that, where your everyday person has the power to say, we're not okay with this. And maybe that's what's actually helped. Or, you know, I'm getting the sense of something like that. But I guess we'll have to see. But if anything, I think it's great to see people like yourself and myself having that power of saying, we're not okay with not seeing the world. Essentially the world, you know, that's all. We're not okay that we don't feel included. And whoever that may be, whether it's from size, whether it's from color, you know, height, you name it. It especially from a fashion perspective, once again, but just socially in general, it doesn't make sense. You actually even make more money being inclusive. So from even a business,
even if you're just doing it from a purely capitalism point of view,
purely capitalistic, you actually can make more money from that. So
I definitely think that we, as a company, as a fashion company, have definitely really, you know, rather than taking that approach of, well, I think we were always really diverse, blah, blah, blah. We've actually really gone away and done the work and looked at who we've been casting and speaking to, and age, size, you know, skin color, and it's been a revelatory experience, because you've opened up the doors to so much more interesting content and women and people. So it's been a wholly positive experience as far as I'm concerned. And I do think it feels different this time. I feel like the world has, once it's been said, you can't close the doors on that anymore.
No, not anymore. Absolutely. And I think social media has played a huge role in that. I mean, I just saw recently Marvel had announced Miss Marvel, and she's a Pakistani young girl who's going to be playing this role.
That's brilliant.
Absolutely fantastic. And I just thought, this young girl from Pakistan, and this is her story, and they've, you know, invested so much. And I said, that's the world I want to see. You have
that's so brilliant.
Absolutely. So it's great. And that's what we need to see.
So I want to ask you about your social media. You've got a sort of mind-boggling number of followers. Do you feel the pressure in what you're posting? Do you make sure that it's like a real mixture of like light-hearted stuff in with serious things? Do you like succumb to the filter and a bit of vanity, or do you try to be as authentic as you possibly can be?
It depends how I feel. I'll be very honest. Let me be candid. Sometimes I completely, I mean, I like being very authentic as much as I can, but the odd time I'll have a pimple I'm not happy with, and that day if I'm feeling insecure like everyone else, because we're all human beings and our esteem is not always on 100, even though people can tell you you look great, you know, it depends on the day. And I think that's also important to say, that for anyone watching this as well, is that we're all human. It's not every day we wake up and we feel beautiful, you know, and, you know, it's give or take. And
but always our own worst critics.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then of course, whether it's Twitter, I always have to be a bit guarded because you know you can trend really quickly, and I learned that as well because I love joking a lot. But you know, not everyone takes it the same way. So you learn a lot. You learn from social media. But I do try to be as authentic as possible. But you know, every day is different, and I want people to know that some days if you're not feeling 100%, that's okay. If you want the odd filter. Yeah. That's okay. But these filters are a bit extreme because I literally can't recognize myself when
and there is a fine balance, isn't there, to sort of good lighting and then sort of who that, you know, am I setting a sort of a healthy precedent to your fans who are thinking, well, I'm never going to look like that because no one is ever going to look like that because it's a fake filter.
Yeah, there's a fine line indeed, and I think that's why I was saying mentally we need to ensure that we all do the work up here, and it's a work in progress. Not every day is the same, and to find a healthy medium, just of being in a good space and loving yourself for who you are. But I definitely don't allow it. Not every day is the same. You know, sometimes I put makeup on, sometimes I don't. But I mean that's part of the journey.
So your song Organic, that was a lot about kind of embracing all the things that you've just said, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And it was important for females, especially females of color, to embrace who they are, the aesthetic. But you know, it was essentially a tribute to an incredible human being called Sarah Baartman here in this country, who of course was exploited in many ways. This is during the 1500s, going to Europe, and was made fun of and abused in many ways for her body. And it's so funny because now in mainstream media, that's the body everyone goes to their favorite surgeon for. And, you know, everyone wants the big booty and everyone wants the small waist. And so that's what inspired the song to say, you know, essentially, let's appreciate and love who we are, even if the world doesn't. But that we've been so blessed organically. We look this way aesthetically and it's all organic. So learn to celebrate who we are as African women. I mean, I look at our Miss South Africa, and she just looks incredible. She has the bald hair, beautiful physique, that curvy physique, and she wears it so boldly. And just to see that progress, or even our Miss Universe is from Miss Africa and has her natural hair, that kind of shift is incredible. So I'm just celebrating all women. And I think that's also important, that doing the work as a Black woman is key, but also knowing that we're doing it with love. That if anything, I refuse to inherit any hate, you know, any past hate, but to show people and to lead with love.
Yeah. And your brand of clothing, is it called Colour? Is that all about embracing?
It's about you, it's about me, it's about all of us. Again, as well in terms of sizes, which is key. And so I'm working with a terrific lady. She won Project Runway South Africa. Her name is Kenzie. And so we're excited to do a lot from a fashion perspective. Of course, COVID changed everything. But which was, you know, this year has been epic, if anything. But we're incredibly excited to come with a new collection. But more than anything, we're excited to see fashion again, feeling the pressure to change as well. Whether they want to or not, you know, you can see it. All your big brands are feeling the pinch that the world has said enough, and you have to.
It's interesting at the OUTNET about what products are selling, and I think originally there were an awful lot of elasticated waist leggings, which, you know, I get. We're all in the UK having to work from home. And so, I mean, I've been at home with my family for 9 months now. It's, you know, it is a kind of like really different thing. And I think originally the temptation is to just sort of cocoon yourself. Absolutely. But then over time, you realise that the psychology of clothes is a really powerful thing. Ooh. And what you wear, it really changes how you feel that day. And to put on something you've had to maybe iron or do a button up on, so you can't kid yourself anymore about how much you've eaten. You know, all of those things are really important, or putting some lipstick on or some sparkly earrings or something. So do you subscribe to the power of clothes and how they make you feel? And if you do, what do you wear to make yourself feel really well?
That's a great question. I'm from the cradle of fashion, not only humankind. Africa is the cradle of fashion. So, I mean, if you look at our ancestry, even ancient Africa, you could not just be in a t-shirt and jeans. It's just not part of the memo. It's not in your ancestry, you know.
So you're not down with the leggings then?
Well, I am. Well, mom of two, leggings are my friend. But maybe an odd lipstick or, you know, earrings. But of course, that's what I love about being from here and whenever I travels, because our pieces here, you know, they're always topical. Everyone always asks, where do you get that from? Oh, that's fantastic. And that's the continent I come from, where we just, whether it's vibrant colors, muted colors, whatever the case may be, we're the most genetically diverse continent in the world, but as well as even our clothing being the same. So every day is different, even for myself. I wish you could see my head. Tomorrow,
I love it. It's been pink, hasn't it, recently?
Oh yes, it's been pink, and now I have triangles, and you know, and I'm literally just a reflection of where I come from. In fact, if anything, Black is King reflected that. You know?
Yeah. So I'm obviously desperate to ask you about the Beyonce experience.
Absolutely.
And how that came about, how it felt for you to basically be hand selected, as far as I understand it, and what that experience was like and working with her.
Sure. Unreal. Unreal. The best experience of my life, obviously besides me giving birth to my little one. It's just taken after
you
that.
know, but it's a close second.
Yeah, it was close, but yeah. Just unreal. And for many reasons. One, because she's just the most divine human being, and I really want the world to know that the most humble, incredible human being to work with, and a hard worker, truly. I mean,
Everyone says that, her attention to detail.
Absolutely, and how everything is so intentional, but the most humble human being. And I'm talking about when you're on set for that long, humble human being, because you know those are hours, so it's only so long.
You can't fake it for that long.
Yeah, absolutely. So just incredible, and I think that's the most important thing. We see a big superstar, but just the incredible human being she is first, because we're all human beings. But then also just what Black is King is all about. And so when I got that email, you know, you see Parkwood Entertainment, and you just think, for the rest of the week, you're just, you know, would like you to be part of something that's going to change the world forever. A project this important was just beyond an honor. It was something I know my ancestors were so happy, you know, there in heaven where everyone was rejoicing for this moment, and for me to be a part of that narrative and to play a role like Nala was just so surreal, because it's everything that I've believed in as well. And so when I got that,
it felt like everything was sort of like the stars aligned and all come together very purposefully.
Absolutely, that the universe understood what I believed in, my ancestry, everything. And of course, then working on this project was incredible, whether it was here in South Africa or LA, wherever it was. The team was just, you have a team of incredibly talented people. I mean, you see someone like Kwesi, who, of course, being a creative director, is just a genius, you know, and all the directors we worked with. Just Blitz being incredible as well. Just all the people we got to work with, the Kale. It was just such an honor to work with literally the best, and that's why the project came out the way it did. But I think also we understood how it was just paramount for us to be so true to the story and to give it that gravitas, but as well as to represent the continent and the diaspora in such a great light, you know, realistic light, but a beautiful light. And whether it's from a visual perspective, spiritual perspective.
The visuals on it are so rich, and that you can't almost take it all in, can you? Like the detail of it all is incredible.
Absolutely. And again, the story, of course, playing ode to Lion King, was just incredibly done and so on point with taking ancient Africa and modern Africa and the diaspora, and kind of sewing it and putting it all together. And that's how the cast and crew was as well. We were all these African people from all over the world coming together for such an incredible project.
That must be such a bonding experience.
Absolutely. So we all talk, I mean, with different accents. You've got the British accent, you've got the American accent, you've got, you know, the African accent, you've got all of us together, but so excited to be a part of what has just been incredible. And then even, for example, Black is King being nominated for Best Music Film for a Grammy is just, you know, the cherry on top, because I think, and it's so funny because we did the project last year, but it was almost like we knew it was coming this year as well. So it was definitely spiritual and something bigger than all of us. Like Beyonce says, this is something way bigger. You know,
yes,
it really was. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was absolutely.
How amazing. How absolutely amazing. And what a privilege for you to have been part of that and to always have that you know, to look back on. So you mentioned something earlier about mental health and about how that's such a sort of big, important thing out of this year, and how people are all coping. And I think that it's been interesting to sort of take stock and find what's actually important to you when everything else is sort of taken away. What have you found that's maybe you didn't realize before is really important to you, and how are you staying sane?
That, and I'm so glad you asked that, because it's something I really want to share with everyone. So I had no idea that I have extreme anxiety. Gosh. Really and truly. Oh yes. So the minute my son was born, I started having breathing issues, but didn't understand why, because you go to the doctor and there's nothing wrong, but you really can't breathe properly. And until I realized that, and in fact it was my husband who said, you know, are you sure you don't suffer from anxiety? So this year, if anything, and I think a lot of people can relate to this, I mean, our anxiety levels shot up completely. This is the whole world. So it was important for me to just learn how to breathe, first of all. The concept of breathing, and even, you know, what ways are impactful to breathe and to be able to breathe in a certain moment, you know. I learned so much from that. Of course, I'm fortunate enough, my sister's a psychiatrist. Well, she's doing psychiatry, so she taught me a lot about the mind. But just, you know, finding certain tools and understanding that everyone else is going through what you're going through, energies, understanding that, you know, to step back and be around the right kind of people. I even have stones now, you know, just, I really discovered myself truly, and I'm still going through that process, because I still find myself, you know, almost having shallow breath, not breathing properly, and taking a moment and understanding that I need to breathe more deeply, more intentionally, more purposely. I mean, these are all these concepts that I didn't understand. And then, of course, I also started exercising in a meaningful way, because
you're not before.
In exercise. But I can do this exercising. We literally, the arms meet. So I've been doing a lot of YouTube. And I think that's also another thing. You know, I'm not good at long distance running. I'll literally do like 1K and come back. And that's something I've done, and I can...
You've still got the endorphins, you've still got the cardio.
Absolutely.
And it sounds to me like you're taking the best approach, which is that you're being kind to yourself as well through it all. And I think sometimes people, when they've got anxiety, they forget. If they were talking to their best friend, they would be so empathetic and sympathetic, and but we're not so good always at taking that approach with ourselves, are we? And speaking to ourselves like we're our own best friends.
Well said. We have to be, and that's what I learned, to be kind to ourselves, you know, and that's key. So mentally, to kind of work with the stories in our heads and realize it's okay. Something's not done in time, it's okay. You'll be fine. No one's going to die. You know? Do
you find as well that your sort of activism and things like the Global Citizen Advocate and having those sort of bigger than you things to be working on helps with your anxiety, so that you can be sort of putting yourself into projects that are going to have significant difference?
Oh, absolutely, without a doubt. In fact, I was chatting to the guys at Global Citizen, and I'm so excited about the projects we're doing for 2021. Of course, COVID is part of that conversation. It does, because, well, actually the control freak in me comes out as well, because part of anxiety is usually being a control freak and trying to control the world when you can't. So the best way to do that is to know that you're playing a role in kind of shifting the narrative or the situation that needs to be changed at hand, especially our social issues, and those are worldwide as well. Capitalism is a worldwide issue also that people need to address. It's not just in Africa, it's the world over. And you saw that during this pandemic. And so there's so many projects that we're going to be doing, especially as a mother, as a female, as a woman of color. I'm super excited. But again, I also feel speaking about the NGO space, it really and truly has to be authentic. I always say I kind of cringe when it's a photo op moment. That's not what it's about. And that's what I actually loved about Global Citizen, is because I saw them doing the work. And whilst I was doing the work with them, how truly vested they are in these projects. And so this incredible projects that we're doing, especially for children. I'm a mother. I love children. So I'm really excited about that. And coming from a country like South Africa, where, you know, the dynamics between rich and poor, and just how so many of us, especially demographically, are in that poverty line, and how we need to really change that and genuinely, you know, to ensure people have education, ensure people feel empowered, ensure people do, you know, can find a way to change their lives. But this is the world over. Why I say that is because there's been this narrative that it's just Africa, you know, and that's not true. The whole world, whether it's the Western world, the Eastern world, the world over. If anything, my dream is kind of to change that system completely, to plant orange trees everywhere, and apples and lemons, and just for everyone to be able to eat, you know, wherever they are, just things as simple as that. So,
Nandi, you are a force of nature, and I'm so conscious that I'm taking up more of your time, and I just want to sort of say, you know, leave you with, I guess, you know, what next? You're sort of Beyonce protege, social media star, designer, advocate and activist. The sky's the limit. Do you have like a sort of grand plan about what's coming next, or are you just leaning into staying sane?
Well, doing both. Of course, staying safe. But I think 2021 is going to be my biggest year for sure. I can't wait for everyone to see what's going to come. But the world needs to watch it very closely, because we're going to be doing incredible projects, and I'm super excited that the world can watch and be a part of.
Oh, Nandi, I can't wait. Honestly, it's been such a pleasure. I feel, you know,
it's been great.
Really, it's so lovely to make this connection with you, and I'm so grateful for your incredible words of wisdom, and I wish you, not that you need it, but every success with the year ahead in your career. It's, you know, going to go